The afternoon light in the hospital room was soft and pale, the kind of quiet light that makes everything feel a little slower, a little gentler. Daniel Harper lay back in the reclining chair, his arm resting carefully on the padded support beside him. A thin tube carried dark red blood from his arm into the waiting bag below. He looked calm, almost thoughtful. Daniel was 38, though life had given him the tired eyes of someone a little older. His brown hair was short and slightly messy, and the stubble along his jaw suggested he had rushed out of the house that morning without much time to prepare. That was often the case. Daniel was a single father. His 8-year-old daughter, Lily, was the center of his world. Since his wife had passed away 5 years earlier, Daniel had done his best to be both mother and father. School lunches, bedtime stories, scraped knees, math homework, he handled it all quietly. It wasn't always easy. But Daniel had learned something about life during those years. Sometimes love meant simply showing up, even when you were tired. Across the room stood a woman who clearly wasn't used to quiet waiting. Olivia Bennett paced slowly beside the hospital bed, her heels clicking softly on the polished floor. Her blonde hair fell neatly around her shoulders, and her cream-colored blazer was perfectly pressed. She looked successful. Confident. The kind of woman who led meetings and made decisions that affected hundreds of people. Olivia Bennett was the CEO of a large medical technology company in the city. But at that moment, none of that mattered. Her 6-year-old son, Ethan, lay asleep in the hospital bed nearby. His small body looked fragile under the blanket, and a faint machine hum filled the silence. Ethan needed a rare blood type. And after hours of searching, the hospital had finally found a match. A stranger. Daniel Harper. Olivia watched the blood bag slowly filling. Relief and worry mixed together inside her chest. Then something else began to stir, a faint sense of recognition. She stepped a little closer, studying Daniel's face. His profile. The shape of his jaw. The quiet way he looked toward the window. Suddenly her breath caught. No, it couldn't be. But the more she looked, the more certain she became. 3 months earlier. A rainy Tuesday morning. Olivia had been rushing into a small coffee shop downtown between meetings. Her phone was pressed to her ear as she spoke sharply to an assistant about a delayed shipment. At the same moment, a man carrying 2 paper cups stepped out of the doorway. They collided. Coffee splashed across Olivia's coat. She had been furious. Her voice rose quickly, sharp with impatience. "Can't you watch where you're going?" The man had immediately apologized. Over and over. He explained he had been hurrying to pick up coffee before work, before dropping his daughter at school. But Olivia had barely listened. She had been stressed, late, and focused only on the stain spreading across her coat. The man's quiet apology hadn't mattered then. She had shaken her head, muttered something about careless people, and walked away. She never looked back. Now, standing in this quiet hospital room, Olivia felt a cold realization spread through her. The man in the chair was the same one. The same man she had spoken to so harshly. Daniel noticed her staring and gave a polite, slightly tired smile. "You okay?" he asked gently. His voice was calm, friendly. Olivia blinked. For a moment she didn't know what to say. You're donating for my son," she said quietly. Daniel nodded. "That's what the nurse said." He looked toward the sleeping child. "Glad I could help." His tone carried no pride. No expectation of thanks. Just simple kindness. Olivia felt a deep wave of shame. She stepped closer, folding her hands together. "I think, we've met before," she said slowly. Daniel studied her face. For a moment he seemed uncertain. Then recognition flickered in his eyes. "Oh," he said softly. "The coffee shop." Olivia's face flushed slightly. "Yes." There was a long pause. Daniel shrugged gently. "Well, mornings can be hectic," he said with a small smile. "It happens." The way he said it made Olivia feel even worse. He wasn't angry. He wasn't bitter. He had simply let it go. Olivia pulled a chair closer and sat down. For the first time in a long while, the confident CEO looked unsure. "I spoke to you terribly that day," she admitted. Daniel looked surprised by her honesty. "It was a stressful morning," he said kindly. Olivia shook her head. "That's not an excuse." She glanced toward Ethan sleeping quietly. "And now, the man I treated like that is the one saving my son." Daniel's expression softened. "Your son's going to be fine," he said gently. "The doctors know what they're doing." Olivia looked at him carefully. "Why did you agree so quickly?" she asked. "They said you didn't even hesitate." Daniel leaned back slightly, thinking. Then he smiled in that quiet, thoughtful way again. "I have a daughter," he said. "If she ever needed help, I'd hope someone would step forward too." Olivia felt her throat tighten. It was such a simple answer. And yet it carried more humanity than many speeches she had heard in boardrooms. Minutes passed slowly as the donation finished. The nurse eventually removed the needle and thanked Daniel warmly. "You've helped a lot today," she said. Daniel simply nodded. When he stood, Olivia noticed how carefully he stretched his arm, still a little weak. "You should sit a bit longer," she said quickly. "I'm fine," Daniel replied with a soft chuckle. "Single dads don't get much time to sit anyway." Olivia smiled faintly. "Tell me about her," she said. "Your daughter." Daniel's eyes brightened instantly. "Lily," he said. "She's 8. He told her about Lily's love of drawing, about how she insisted every pancake on Saturday mornings had to be shaped like an animal. About bedtime stories and school science projects. About the quiet pride he felt watching her grow. As he spoke, Olivia realized something. Daniel's life wasn't glamorous. It wasn't filled with board meetings or luxury travel. But it was rich in something far more meaningful. Love. Real, everyday love. When Daniel finished, he glanced at his watch. "I should head out," he said. "Lily gets out of school soon." Olivia stood quickly. "Daniel, wait." He turned. "I don't know how to thank you," she said honestly. "You've given my son a second chance." Daniel shook his head gently. "You don't owe me anything." But Olivia knew that wasn't entirely true. Because in that quiet hospital room, something important had shifted inside her. For years she had measured people by success, efficiency, achievement. But today she had been reminded of something deeper. Kindness often appears in the most ordinary people. And sometimes, the people we overlook are the very ones who carry the biggest hearts. Olivia reached for her card and placed it in Daniel's hand. "If you ever need anything, truly anything, please call me." Daniel looked at the card, then back at her. He smiled kindly. "Take care of your son," he said. "That's enough." He walked toward the door slowly, pausing once to glance back at the sleeping boy. Then he left quietly. Olivia stood beside Ethan's bed for a long time after that. The machines hummed softly. Outside, the sun was beginning to set. And in that calm evening light, Olivia Bennet understood something she would carry for the rest of her life. The world doesn't change because of power. Or money. Or titles. It changes because ordinary people choose kindness, even when no one is watching. Daniel Harper never told anyone what he had done that day. But somewhere across the city, a little girl named Lily would soon run into her father's arms after school. And a small boy named Ethan would grow up with a second chance at life. All because one quiet man believed something simple. Helping someone in need is never wasted. And kindness, even the smallest act, always finds its way back into the world.